Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Superpower Quest Superhumans, and this will probably also publish to Workplace Delight. And today I get to talk with my friend, Brother Luck, the one thing he wants you to know about him is that he's awesome and he said, I like me. That's what he said. So, welcome to the show, man.
And yes, that's my real name.
Yes. I'm sure you get asked that a lot. Yeah,
Has literally turned into my introduction with everyone I meet. I go, "Hi, I'm Brother Luck," and yes, that's my real name. I just
yeah,
start with that.
yeah. So, do your friends call you brother or do they call you bro? Like, do they shorten it?
Yeah, families call me brother. Most of my family call me bro. My nieces, my nephews, they call me bro. My
Yeah.
wife always thought it was weird. She's like, "Don't call him Uncle Bro." It sounds like we're from the really deep south.
Yeah. Oh, I can see how that can be problematic. So tell me about your answer to my question. Right, one thing you want people to know, and you said that I'm awesome, and you said I like me. So tell me about that because there's a lot behind that.
Yeah, I think many of us have insecurities and we hide them for a long time and we front. And the reality is, for me personally, the self discovery of myself and rebuilding my confidence within myself
Yeah,
has led to an appreciation for what I see in the mirror, the reflection. And that appreciation has given me more confidence. And as I find comfort in that confidence, I'm very vocal about it, and it's not cockiness anymore. There's no cockiness at all. I'm very humble because I have something to learn from every person I encounter.
yeah,
But I'm very confident now within myself because I like myself. I've come to this understanding that I'm one of a kind. I'm special. There's no recipe like me,
yeah,
and there's something to be celebrated about that. So, when I say that I'm awesome, it's because
yeah,
I like myself, and I think
yeah.
that's important for people to understand.
I mean, that's a huge part of the message of the Superpower Quest is helping people understand like you have a unique design, you have a superpower, you have a combination of strengths and weaknesses, but somewhere inside of that is greatness. Like I believe greatness lives in every single person.
hmm
So tell me what it is that you like about yourself, right? Like when you say you like what you see in the mirror, but what in particular do you like? Can you name it?
Yeah, well, I think you just kind of hit on it real quick. Was what is your superpower? And for me, it's my originality.
Yeah.
There's no this secret spice and blend of recipe. Like there's nothing like it. The Colonel ain't got nothing on this chicken recipe. Like I am authentically me, and that is to be celebrated. And I think as we walk this earth and we have this short story that we get to narrate and, put pen to paper, you have to celebrate that. And that originality is a big piece of it. Is there's nobody walking this earth who is you.
Yeah.
And that's a superpower.
Yeah, man. Yep, that's a message that many people need to hear. So you took my Superpower Quest survey, uh, which I love looking at these, man. I read every single one that I get. And so your core drive is progress, meaning like you want motion, you want to move, you want to strive, you want to prevail. And then you put that your primary hero type was dreamer, which makes sense, right? You said you're original, like that original creativity that I think we're gonna find is a hallmark of your career. That's the dreamer, right? Like the creative imagination. And then right beneath that, you've got the secondary hero type of the leader, which is the galvanizer, person who is comfortable delegating, comfortable holding people accountable. Those people can cultivate excellence. And so that's an amazing combination. Can you tell me a little bit about your you as a child? So you as a dreamer, leader, core drive of progress. How did that manifest when you were a kid?
I think I got lost in stories. Stories were a big part of my childhood, and stories originate from, your basic nursery books
Mm-hmm.
to music to the literature that you start to conceive later. And then you start to realize every person's telling you a story. They're telling you their story. And I've always been a watcher, I've always been an observer.
Yep.
It's how I survived. It's how I made it through my situation, was being very aware of my surroundings and constantly seeing how people interacted with each other and how they handled themselves in their situation. So story for me, I think, is what sparks my creativity and my drive to want to pursue dreams.
Yeah.
The biggest question I ask myself all the time is why not? Why not? Like, just because you think I can't doesn't mean that I think I can't. Like, why not? Why can't I get to that next level? Why can't I achieve this dream? Why can't I pursue this goal? Why not?
Yeah. Yeah, man. What's your big why not right now?
I want to DJ in Ibiza.
Yeah, I saw that. Come on.
And you know, the craziest part is it's lining up and I see it happening, which is really cool. Like, as I play on the turntables and I continuously refine my skill set, I'm putting in my hours, right? You got to do your 10,000 hours. There's no
Yep.
skipping the work. I don't care what your craft is, what your skill set is. There's no skipping the work. You got to put in the time. You've got to practice. And as I'm playing, I'm continuously putting myself out there and being vulnerable. And I'm performing at different venues and events. And I'm seeing the reactions. And I'm kind of, measuring myself based on those experiences. And then I'm starting to kind of pursue other opportunities. So like one recent one was I saw an opportunity on Mixcloud, the sound service, and it was essentially to submit a mix for Ibiza Radio, and it's an international radio station based out of Spain. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. So I built a mix, very house centric. I kind of envisioned it before I put it together. I
Yep.
envisioned it as this like I'm standing on the rooftop overlooking the Mediterranean,
Yeah.
sunset, tapas,
Oh,
sangrias.
bro.
You know what I mean?
Take
Like
me there. Let's
I'm
go.
I'm I'm wearing linen. Like I'm putting myself in that situation mentally to create the experience in my playlist. And then I spun the playlist. Like I played it and I listened to it and I was like, that's actually not bad. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what? I'm gonna put it out there. So I submitted it. It got accepted. They're gonna play it on the radio, which is absolutely amazing. And
Crazy.
then this morning, my wife's like, hey, my brother and his wife are going to Spain in September. Were you serious about like going to Spain? And I'm like, absolutely, like not even a question. So now this morning kind of led to looking at flights, looking at hotels. I'm looking at their itinerary. I'm like, well, I don't really want to do what they're going to do because that's their lifestyle choices. And they want to be on tour buses and do all that cool stuff. I honestly just want to go chill on the water and eat tapas and siesta. Like that's
Yeah.
how I that's how I see my Spain experience. So I started looking at flights. Flights are only $500 right now to go at that time. So I'm like,
Dang.
that's not that pricey. And then I start looking at like, okay, well, we can get a VRBO. And instead of just going to like, Barcelona or Madrid, we could actually start in one of those cities, but then we could actually go to like Mallorca. We could go to Ibiza. We could like do like 2 or 3 days of just jumping on those islands and hitting those areas. So now all of a sudden it's becoming even more real.
Dude.
And then all I gotta do is figure out how to actually play in Ibiza. So,
Yeah.
whether that's me just bringing a deck and spinning it myself or like
Yep.
finding a local restaurant that wants to do a collaboration where I could cook and play. You
Yeah.
see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I'm creating this reality for myself. And I think why not?
Man, I'm seeing you do it on the fly, just right in front of me, right? Because you're putting these different pieces together
Hmm.
to create a potential value proposition to make this actually happen, which is amazing. So backing up for a second, folks that are watching are like, okay, so he's a DJ too, and celebrity chef, and coach, consultant, and restaurateur, restaurant owner, and right. So like there's a
Author, keynote speaker.
yeah
Nobody puts baby in a corner. Like you are not putting me in a box.
yeah
I do everything, man.
yeah
I had really good advice from a friend, Carla Hall, who's an amazing chef, an amazing personality. But when I came off of Top Chef after I think my second season, I ran into her in New York, and she gave me that advice. She said, I never put myself in a box as Chef Carla Hall. I
Yeah.
was always Carla Hall. And I'm a singer, I'm a performer, I'm
Yeah.
an actress. Like, she does everything.
Yeah.
And I loved that approach to it, which is why I think she's one of the most successful personalities to come off the Top Chef brand. I
Sure.
don't think there's anyone else that's reached her status as far as personality within the entertainment industry, within the arts industry. She does it all. And I respect that so much. And she's always given me really good advice like that. Every time we've talked, like last year, no, 2 years ago, 2 years ago, we were in Aspen together, and we're doing our features, and we're sitting in like a private green room, to just get a break away from the madness of being
Yeah.
in Aspen for Food and Wine. And she shared this gem with me. She says, I don't ever do the same event 2 years in a row. And I never even thought about that. She's like,
Dang.
I keep my demand up that way. I don't
Yeah.
do the same event 2 years in a row. And I love the simplicity and genius of that. Like, that is such good advice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's there's a couple nuggets I'm getting from you already, right? So one of them is for anybody listening, what's your why not, right? Like,
Mhm.
what is your why not? Because you followed that question to many, many opportunities and possibilities that would probably never have been there, right?
Mhm.
If you weren't willing to have a why not perspective that, I could try something and it could work, right? I think we don't do that because we're afraid,
Yeah.
right? We're afraid. I know that, right? Like, we're afraid to aim for the stars or to reach too high because what if we fall down? What if we fail? But failure is a part of it.
Yeah. Well, another side of it too is like, if you shoot for the stars, you still gonna hit the trees.
Yeah.
That's higher
Yeah,
than you
something.
are right now.
Yeah.
Like, even if I fall, I'm hitting the trees. Like,
Yeah.
that, you have to change the thought process of how we approach fear, because jumping off the cliff is scary, but it's not the
Yeah.
fall that's scary, it's the look of the jump. Right? You stare on the edge and look down and go, I don't know. That's
Yeah.
pretty far down, but
Yeah.
once you jump, man, you don't have any other choices but to fall at that point. So, build the airplane on the way down. I love that thought process.
That you really might be speaking to somebody's heart right now. So, right, because we all have moments, and there's a moment for each of us where we come to that cliff, and then we got to decide, right? Are we going to jump off it? And the earlier you are in the journey, maybe the scarier it is because you don't have the reps behind you.
Hmm.
Can you tell us about like the early times, the early cliffs
Yeah.
that you
Well,
jumped
I mean,
off of?
every day is a cliff, and I'm scared every day. So don't get this confidence or this kind of perception of where I'm at right now fool you. I'm scared every day. I have no idea what I'm doing. And
Yeah.
that is such a real statement that so many people feel but won't share,
Yeah.
because we don't want to be viewed as weak, or we don't want to be viewed as incompetent, or whatever the scenario is. None of us know what we're doing. We're just doing it. We're just figuring it out. We're trusting blindly. And I
Yeah.
think that is such a key piece to this, is, can you trust
Mm,
blindly and move
hmm.
forward, right? And not be paralyzed by the fear. Can you control the things around the fear to embrace the fear? Because it's not going to go away. Fear will never go away. So you have to learn how to manage the things around it so you can embrace it, and
Yeah.
just kind of feel that gut in your chest, in the bottom of your stomach, hesitation.
Yeah.
That is never going away.
Yeah. It might even be a clue you're heading in the right direction,
Mm.
right? That you feel that. You said trust blindly, and what I hear is it's something I talk about a lot is childlike faith,
Mm.
right? That there's a lot to be gained through because really we can't control everything, and our need to control is often where the fear comes from. And so to be able to exist in a space where you don't have control and then to get to peace with that, I think is a big part of being able to be courageous and to risk. So can you think of an early risk that you had to take?
I mean, there's so many. I'm most out of control in my life when I'm trying to control my life.
Yeah.
And I have that reflected over and over in my story.
Yeah.
I think, a big moment is that stands out for me is vulnerability of a relationship,
Yeah.
dropping down walls to
Yep.
become a husband. I
Yep.
think dropping down walls to risk it all and start a business.
Yeah.
There's so many scenarios. I mean, vulnerability. I own restaurants. I put myself out there every night with every dish to be judged, to be
Yep.
commented on. Everyone's a food writer. There's a Open Table and a Yelp and a Google
Yeah.
and a TripAdvisor. There's so
Yeah.
many mediums for someone to judge me.
Yeah.
So, every day's a risk. And I think you have to just accept these challenges and embrace them and move through them, because it's not going to get easier. Life is not going to get easier. These challenges are going to continuously come. You're just going to have better tools, better weapons, better support systems. You're going to have a better understanding of how to handle them as you get older. And
Yeah.
I think that's the key to it, is just building yourself a strong support system and circle, and having a foundational set of tools that you can rely on as you're working yourself through all these fears and insecurities and challenges that we embrace.
Yeah. So here's what I perceive. You're a mentor.
Absolutely.
You've had mentors that have, I think, helped you along the way. I've actually watched you mentor a friend of mine. Like I've actually got to watch you in action and see kind of how you gently shepherd the soul and call a person upward into a new opportunity.
Mm.
What advice do you have for people that are watching that are afraid to take
Yeah,
that? They've got a risk ahead of them. They're afraid. Um, they don't know if they can do it.
me too. Straight up, me too. I am just as scared. I
Yeah.
have every one of these dreams, every one of these opportunities, all these things that I work up in my head, or I'm like, I could do that. I'm so scared of. And I think that is extremely important to share with people. And
Yeah.
it's why I've fallen in love with coaching and mentoring, as I take on a specific client to say, I'm going to help mentor and coach you,
Yeah.
not just through leadership, not just through your career, but also in life. Because I feel like I've been put into a position to become a catalyst for many things.
Mm-hmm.
And I accept that. I feel like that's my blessing in life. I know that that's my purpose, and it's about helping others. My success is not mine, it's
Yeah.
other people's success. And that's where I find my joy. That's where I find my direction. Someone asked me last night, I was teaching a cooking class last night, and they said, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" And my response was, most likely in some type of coaching and mentorship and development type role, as far as how I'm helping people. I don't see it in restaurants in 5 years. And I don't know how that exit strategy looks. I
Yeah.
don't know. That is so scary to even begin to fathom, because I've put everything into restaurants for 3 decades.
Yeah.
I have no idea what that looks like, but I know that's my calling. It's why I've been given the opportunity to write my book on vulnerability and mentorship. And it's why I speak on stages and talk to people um, about hope and
Yeah.
perseverance and pressure. It's why I build digital courses to help restaurant owners understand, like, the potential that they have. They just don't have the person to help them.
Yep.
All these things are just pushing me into this direction of, you need to help more people, and you need to
Yep.
share your story. You need to be present. You need to make time. And my biggest time suck right now is operations of restaurants. So if
Yes.
I could free myself up, I do
Yes.
have the ability to commit to that. And I think that's something that's exhilarating and exciting, because I've never considered that.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember hearing you talk about the transition from the chef thinking like a chef to thinking like a CEO.
Hmm.
And it sounds to me like you're even contemplating. I mean, maybe there are elements of that in the stage of your journey, right? Like you've gone from chef to CEO, But now you're talking about even taking another leap beyond that and maybe even getting out of the chef context.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that chef to CEO mindset shift?
Well, cooking has been my craft that has allowed me to take a vocational skill and pay my bills and survive
Yeah.
and build a life, build confidence, build direction, and build purpose. But as you grow within business and you climb through your ladders, you get to a point of you are now in different positions. I'm no longer just a chef. I am an owner. I am a brand ambassador. I have a responsibility to push the business forward, ensure the business is successful. I have to develop people. I have to grow people. I have to lead teams. It's no longer just my craft of I want to cook, and I love to cook. Cooking is such a passion for me. It's a beautiful thing to have the time to just cook. That's not my job anymore, and
Right.
I've had to accept that. And it wasn't intentional. I never set out to not be a chef.
Yeah.
I started a business because I was a chef,
Yes.
but I've had to embrace this position. I was coaching another restaurateur last week, and she's in that similar position. She's a small business owner
Yep.
who is chained to her stove.
Yeah.
And she doesn't realize at this point right now that she needs to elevate up because
Yep.
her job is no longer to be the cook. Like, you have to train your recipes, you have to train your expectations, you have to set measurements. You need to grow the business and create more opportunity. And getting someone to see that, hopefully sooner than later, is going to make them much more successful because they're now going to start to expand into so many other sectors. And I think that is a valuable skill to teach and help because that's been my story, right?
Yeah.
I've learned now how to take on licensing deals. I've learned
Yep.
how to get into completely different markets with my chef brand, but finding ways to actually connect the dots. I mean, DJing is a perfect example.
Yeah.
I'm DJing Aspen Food and Wine this year for a
Dude,
private party.
congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. But it's like, this is just my ability to say, here's my target market audience, which is my fan base of people who love food and wine.
Yeah.
I've been on these shows. I'm a part of that brand. I'm a part of that family. Well, what if the client allows me to entertain them as a chef?
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
all of a sudden, you've got a chef coat with Brother Luck from Top Chef spinning music like that for your
That's so
private
sick,
party.
dude. Yeah.
Now it's all of a sudden like, yes, this is the experience. I'm just curating a memorable experience. That's all
Yep.
I'm doing. But I found a way to take another skill set that I've learned and apply it to my current brand as a chef. So it's just connecting these dots.
So I believe we give so often we give the gift we were given. That's the most effective gift we have to give is the gift that we were given because we felt the growing pains and we had to endure the suffering to gain that gift. And so for you, the gift you're giving as a mentor is helping people transition from that chef mindset to that CEO mindset. How did that happen for you?
I read a book called The Reach of a Chef back in maybe 2010. And it was a third part of a series by an author I was a really big fan of. And he talked about that specifically, the chef as a CEO. And he
Yeah.
used people like Emerald and Rachel Ray as these examples of it's no longer about what you can cook. It's about the brand that you built, the endorsements, the products.
Yeah.
One of my favorite chefs who ran El Bulli, Ferran Adria, he said it. I don't make money in my restaurants. I make money in my products.
Yeah.
And the books, the speaking engagements, the appearances, all these things are where I make my money.
Yeah.
And I heard that. I heard that really well. And I've sat on that for years. And as I've built a brand that is trusted, that is beloved, that is appreciated, that is something that people will support, now I need to create products that can go with that brand. So that, to me, the restaurants are my product. That's where you experience my brand first.
Yeah.
And then it leads into other parts of that. I wouldn't have a licensing deal with an airport if it
Yeah.
wasn't for the restaurants. I wouldn't have catering gigs without that. I wouldn't have the book without the story of the restaurants. Everything has stemmed from, creating products around it.
Man, I don't think most people would think of their restaurant as actually their most effective marketing of their brand,
Yeah, it's
right?
it's a connection point, and that could be any product. That doesn't have to be a restaurant, right? You own a tire
Yep.
shop, you own a floor shop, you own a tattoo
Yep.
shop, whatever is your main kind of reference point to your brand as you're building your brand.
Yeah.
Then you create products around that, and it all falls under that umbrella. Brother Luck is my brand, but
Yep.
Four by Brother Luck is a product. 1118 Latin Tapas Bar is a product. The studio is a
Yep.
product. No Luck's Giving Book is a product. These are all products that I have attached underneath my umbrella.
But it's dope when your product can also be a platform, right? So
100%.
each of those restaurants is now a platform for its own product and other products within the enterprise.
Yeah, we were talking about a cookbook earlier, and
Yeah.
the fact that I'm ready to write a cookbook now,
Yeah.
and knowing that I serve 100,000 people a year tells me that I could move, what, 50% of that. So if I could sell 50,000 units within my restaurants
Yeah.
of a cookbook, then it's a
Yeah.
good deal.
Yeah.
So now it's starting to make sense of like, this is why I've taken so long to get to wanting to write a cookbook, because I had to build the system
Yep.
where I could actually move the product.
Yeah. And that's attractive to a publisher because a publisher knows you have an automatic platform, right? Like that's
Absolutely.
which is amazing. Man, this is a lot. This is deep. Actually, for me, one of the big takeaways is this thinking that you're talking about right now, which is sometimes your product isn't sometimes what you think is your product isn't really your product. It's not, it doesn't end there, but it can also be the platform for other products if you can dream those other products into existence.
Yeah.
And I see that, right, as we're talking, I see your ability to make connections, creative connections between things that maybe most people wouldn't connect. That's a gift of dreaming. I guess I want to know more about the future that you see for you. So in terms of what's coming. So you said your big dream is to DJ in Ibiza.
Today.
Yeah.
That's my dream
Um,
today.
do you see anything? And then you have another dream that you described, which is, okay, man, I'm gonna actually potentially exit, restaurants at some point, and then really just work on the coaching side, which sounds to me like basically evolution more and more into being able to exercise your core gift more and more, right? Because this core gift is mentorship, right? It's multi-channel, right? It's mentorship and coaching and leading and lifting up people. It's also dreaming and creating and making original connections. And the more you can be centered in doing more and more of that as your job, right? That means your job becomes your calling. So can you see any more in the future of what that journey looks like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is putting those things into motion and setting yourself up for the business structure. If there's anything I've learned recently, especially in the last week, is you have to actually commit to creating the business before you start to like make the business come to life.
Yeah.
And a perfect example, we identified within one of our teams that we had created a position for a business that didn't exist. And
Yeah.
we had one employee who was just kind of in a gray area, that wasn't getting direction, that wasn't getting guidance, that wasn't getting leadership, because we had put them into a role for a position of a business that didn't really exist.
Yeah.
And it just made me go back to the drawing board and say, okay, you're on the right bus, you're just in the wrong seat. I need to
Sure.
eliminate that seat, and I need to put you in the right seat. So let's identify what that role is.
Yep.
And when I look at like my next steps as far as like mentoring, coaching, how do I build that out? I'm doing that right now, right? I've started it with the book that has led to the speaking engagements.
Yep.
And what I realized recently, I gave a talk at a conference up in Denver for, I don't know, it's like 300 individuals, hospitality professionals.
Yeah.
The client booked me to speak. The client bought 300 of my books. I didn't have anything else to sell. So
Yeah.
as I
Yeah.
got up on stage and I captured the audience and I found engagement with the audience, and I had them right here. I didn't
Yeah.
have the next part to say,
Yeah.
here's where we can connect further.
Yeah.
And it was such a missed opportunity, and I wasn't
Yep.
ready.
Right.
So, that's what's led me to creating my workshops. That's what's led
Yep.
me to creating my online courses.
Yep.
And that's what's led me to establishing myself as a consultant, mentor, and coach with actual rates. I had
Yeah.
to put all of those things down on paper and put it to actual use because now I can actually sell it.
Yeah,
And
man.
that's the difference of like if I'm working with a client and I'm doing 4 calls a month and we're doing an hour, hour and a half on Zoom, that is valuable,
Yes.
but it needs to be decided like what is the monetary commitment. And for me, that's where I had to like really start drawing up what that looks like because we're getting ready to launch this online course. Like I'm literally after I get off this call, I'm
Yeah.
sitting in this studio and I am finishing out my last module today. That is
Wow.
my goal today. I am making time for it today. And
Awesome.
like then it's connecting with the digital marketer. Okay, let's build the
Yeah.
website. Let's launch the software and let's start marketing it to the audiences to start building a passive income to really support the idea of this whole business. So beyond the speaking gigs, the book sales, the one-on-one coaching, I've now got the digital workshop that is creating more revenue for the business. And I'm the only employee of that business, which is where I'm starting to see
Yep.
the separation of chef to CEO, right?
Sure.
Is you have to create smart business modules that have good profit margins. And if you can control your profit margins and generate high profit margins, you're going to be very successful.
Yep. Yeah, I can see it, man. And this is starting to feel also like somewhat of a business masterclass because I think you're putting some things really clearly, right? Like the restaurants and your kind of past experience became a platform for the book.
Mm-hmm.
And the book becomes a platform for these speaking opportunities
Yeah.
that you can have. And then these speaking opportunities become a platform for these courses, right? That you're just about to release because that product was missing. So
Mm-hmm.
now you're now courses. And then ultimately, all those things are funding bringing passive revenue potentially, so that you can spend your time doing the thing that most lights you up, which is, I think you said it, hanging out with people and guiding
Connecting.
them up into their
Yeah.
potential.
The connection. And I do that through many forms. I do that through cooking. I do that through entertaining. I do
Yeah.
that through conversation. But it's really just being present in the moments. I think the one thing I try to really tell people a lot, social media is not real. This
Yeah.
is such a glimpse of people's lives and it's surreal to me. Like I had a post this week go viral and it just hit 1 million views on Instagram yesterday.
Wow.
And it was controversial, which was intentional,
Yeah.
and it stirred the pot. But at the same time, there was a deeper message. And I was reminded throughout those, I don't know, there's like 700 comments on it. I was reminded of what's most important when it comes to social media, which was throughout all those 700 comments, I had one person say, I am so excited to come to your restaurant next week. I'm coming down for my birthday. I've read your book. I would love to meet you.
Yeah.
Like I caught that
Yeah.
comment out
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
all that
And all the
nonsense of
noise,
like,
right? Yeah.
you don't know what you're talking about. That's a waste of product. Like all the keyboard warriors.
Yeah.
Between all of that, I saw that comment and I made a note within our reservation system to say, let
Yep.
me know when this guest arrives. They're celebrating a birthday. Make sure one of our books is signed at their table. And I moved on right, with my week.
Yeah.
I got an alert from the manager that day saying, "Hey, we've got a note in our system that to call you for this birthday reservation." And I realized I'm teaching a cooking class tonight, so I actually can't go to this table.
Yeah.
So I said, "I want you to show them an amazing time. Like, go off on that table. Start them off with a glass of champagne, complimentary of us. Take them on a journey, and then when they're done, send them down the street to this restaurant where I'm actually teaching the class tonight." And I want to meet them here if they're interested. And of course, they came over afterwards. I had the best conversation with them. We talked about all the things that really mattered,
Yeah.
and it just reminded me, like, again, the human connection needs to
Human
be
connection.
so important within like what we do every day, because we get caught up in these social media relationships that aren't real. They're so surface level. There's no depth to them, which is, if you're feeding your soul with that right now, or your attention span, you've got to deviate from that, because you've got to read between the lines of what's actually happening with some of those comments, or what people are really asking you, or what they're really looking for, or what really is fueling you to want to reach out. So it was a powerful experience through social media, which was crazy.
Dude, I love that. And so, man, I have a friend. She's a LinkedIn genius. Her name is Caitlin, and she had this quote that just never left me. Caitlin Richards. She said, "Gosh, connections are the KPI when it comes to social media. Like real connections are the KPI. So, in other words, on LinkedIn especially, how much is your LinkedIn life converting to real time on the phone, real time face to face with people?
Yeah.
Because that's the point, right? Like some people use these platforms to sell, they use these platforms for a lot of things. But man, I love how you waded through all the comments, found the human moment, the human connection, and then followed that thread and created a story, right? Now you're a part of a story. Someone else has been invited into a story. You're in a story together.
Yeah.
And stories are how we're going to leave a mark on people.
It's currency. And it's funny that quote that you just stated is exactly what I was pursuing. I was looking for the human connection through the social media posting, and those follow-ups are everything. To get
Yeah,
someone on a phone, to get someone for coffee, to get someone on a Zoom, that's where I think you have the purpose of utilizing that as a tool. That's your
for
true
sure.
currency. So I totally
Yeah.
agree with that.
Do I hear a little bit? So are you Unreasonable Hospitality? Are you a fan of
I
that
love that
book?
book. It's a great book.
Okay.
And Will's an amazing person. Like
Yeah.
I met Will Gadar, the author.
Yeah.
I met Will in New York at an event, and him and Danielle Hum, who was the chef of 11 Madison Park, they had just raised $30,000 for that charity that we were supporting, and they donated, a couple chefs' tables. That's what they did to raise the money for that amount. And I walked up to William afterwards. I said, Will, I just want to say thank you so much for what you're doing tonight. I know this is probably just another culinary event that you guys are doing as a team. You do hundreds of these, I'm sure, a year. But I need to tell you my story. I'm an alum of this program.
Yeah.
I went through this program as a teenager. It taught me how to cook. It got me into competitive cooking, and I earned the money you raised tonight. I earned that as a scholarship, which saved my life. It changed my life. It gave me an education. It gave me purpose. And today, I'm a business owner, and I am a chef. And this is before television.
Yeah.
And I shared
Yeah.
this with Will, and Will smiled at me, and the only way Will can. And he said, "Will you tell Daniel that story?" So he walked me over to Chef Daniel Hum, who I admire and respect. I think he's one of the best chefs on the planet. And I remember telling Daniel the story, and Daniel gave me the biggest hug. And he said, "Thank you for being the last person we met tonight. It really
Yeah.
means a lot." And I followed up on that conversation. I reached out to Will maybe a year later. I said, "Hey, I'm coming back out to New York. I would love to experience 11 Madison Park. Could you get me a reservation? I'm coming in this month." And he did. He booked me for
Wow.
a reservation at 11 Madison. I took one of my chefs who I've mentored for many years. He's from Jamaica, and he has never experienced anything like that. And I took him to at that time, they were the number one restaurant in the world. And we sat in 11 Madison and had the best dinner and experience because of those types of conversations. So
Dude.
when Will talks about unreasonable hospitality,
Yeah.
that is a perfect example of my own story with Will, that I think is why when you see his story now of being a keynote speaker and a mentor, it makes so much sense. He has a lot of the same philosophies that I do, as a leader, as a mentor, as a professional. It's beyond the restaurants at this point.
Yeah. It has everything to do with what I see as kind of the driving force inside of you, which is elevating other people,
Absolutely.
right? Because that's why we're given the superpower that we have, right? We're given the gift to give it to other people.
Well, and the
And
challenge is we compare ourselves to each other, right? Our
yeah,
story's not good enough. When I look at Will's story,
yeah,
and they took this classic historic restaurant in New York and turned it into the number one restaurant in the world
yeah,
through hard work, through commitment, through passion, through perseverance. I look to myself and go, I'm not the number one restaurant in the world. I'm
yeah,
not that good. I have so much insecurity about my own story. I downplay my story when in reality, that's what we should not do, because
yes,
my story is authentically me and I can only speak my experiences to someone that could resonate, that could be powerful. So I can't compare myself to 11 Madison Park and what Will's achieved and what Will's doing. I have to look back on myself and say, no, here's what brother has done. This is
yeah,
what I've accomplished. This is what I've persevered through. This is where it's something valuable for someone to hear. And I've got to like really embrace that part of it. And I think we have to get beyond just comparing our stories.
yeah, yeah. We tell our kids comparison is the killer of joy,
Mm,
right? Because and it is, right? It kills your ability to appreciate someone else because now I'm in competition with somebody else instead of being able to appreciate, like, man, that's a special gift that they've been given in their identity, in their superpower, in their experience. And I have my own, which is equally valid, right?
yeah.
I have one of these interviews that I did. I interviewed a friend of mine. Her name is Lyric, and she cleans houses. She has a house cleaning business. And to her, house cleaning is ministry. House cleaning is joy. It's like she loves doing it.
Is
She
it the
she
same Lyric who's down here?
Yeah, Lyric's here. She's
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Sweden.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know Lyric?
I know Lyric. I've known Lyric a long time.
Dude, she's a
Yeah,
boss, man.
yeah, yeah. I had the opportunity to help with her music program that
Yeah,
she does for the inner city kids, and she's just I've known her back since I started my business doing the restaurant at the Triple Nickel. She would do like spoken word, and she would come up and hang out, and yeah, it's a small town, Smolorado Springs.
Smolorado. Yeah, yeah. But part of the reason I interviewed her was because I wanted, right? Like we compare like a gift, like she cleans houses. That's her livelihood.
Hmm.
And she loves to do it. And when she does it with incredible joy and she does it with excellence. But what she sees herself as doing is taking the burden off of other people and giving them a gift of joy and giving them a gift of rest in their own house. That's how she sees it.
Yeah.
And so we would most of the time look at something like that and then compare that with like a Jeff Bezos who has this gift for making money, and we do a value judgment, and people do value judgments on ourselves. But what I want to do is help people get comfortable with what the gift is that they've been given and then push that as far as you can and see what the potential is with it. And it'll bring you places that you never imagined, just that gift, because everybody has that greatness inside of them. I truly believe that, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I see how you bring that out of other people. Now, as we close, we're kind of getting towards the end. We haven't talked about one of the things I know is one of your great passions, which is mental health. So can you talk a little bit about that, how what we've talked about, where that passion comes from and how you exercise it?
Yeah, I talk on mental health because I broke and I didn't understand why.
Mm-hmm.
And when I broke and hit that dark, deep, depressive mindset that led me to a suicide attempt, and having so many years of suicide ideology, it made me realize that I needed help.
Yeah.
But my pride, the way I was brought up, the way society views mental health, really kind of just triggered this whole I don't want to be viewed as weak. I don't want to be labeled. I don't want to be coddled. And that wasn't working for me. Like
Yeah.
I spent years just shoving things into closets and putting walls up and protecting myself. And eventually I hit a perfect storm that triggered everything and crumbled every wall I had as a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
And that situation led me to believing lies that I was telling myself, which was I wasn't good enough. I didn't deserve to be here. I should just end it all. And I've realized through the therapy, through the group sessions, through the counseling, that I'm not alone in those feelings. A
Yeah.
lot of people struggle with that same insecurity. They have those same struggles with anxiety and depression. And talking about mental health is extremely important. And you're not weak talking about your mental health. I think that's important for people to hear. Like, I'm 6'2", 240. Like, I'm not weak. Talk about
Yeah.
it though. I talk about my feelings. I cry. Like, this
Yeah.
is so important to say out loud,
Yes.
and especially for people of color, especially for people in the hospitality industry, especially for men. I think
Yeah.
it's even more important because we are kind of raised with this masculinity to be the provider, be the leader, be the symbol of strength and the representation of that. And who's taking care of us?
Yeah.
Because we can't do it alone. We're breaking. And I sit in these men's groups and I listen to men 20, 30 years older than me blow their lives up because they've just been shoving things in closets, and finally it's finally hit that storm and their
Yeah.
walls crumbled and they broke, and now they're trying to figure out why they're depressed at 60, at 70. That scares me.
Yeah.
And I think more young people need to have these conversations, and I love that this is a very common topic at this point,
Yeah.
and that we're making the uncomfortable comfortable. But at the same time, we've got to continuously share our story, because you can't help someone by just saying, "Are you okay?" You can help someone by sharing your own journey and
Come
making them
on.
feel less alone. And that's
Yeah.
what it's about. I will uncomfortably talk about my suicide attempts and my depression and my struggles, not because I want to. It's extremely uncomfortable. I don't like talking about it. But I
Yeah.
do it because somebody needs to hear my story.
Right.
My story's meant for someone else. And that's why I share over and over on every platform. It's why I talk about it on social media. It's why I talk about it in interviews. This is why I get on stage and talk about it, because someone needs to hear this to hopefully save themselves from themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear that. I hear that word vulnerability. You use that word vulnerability pretty frequently, and I believe the only way to call other people into vulnerability is to be vulnerable, right? Like that is the immediate. By being vulnerable, I give you permission to be vulnerable.
Mm,
And people just, have you noticed? People just resonate with that, and then they'll open up and tell you all kinds of things if you
yeah.
go first.
Yeah. I mean, as I'm having these conversations with individuals, and especially young men, I'm realizing how quick their emotions will come out because they just haven't had, especially a grown man, give
Yeah.
them that opportunity. And I
Right.
grew I grew up in that environment where you have to be hard. You
Yep.
have to put on this mask and you have to hide your emotions and don't ever show them. And as I get into these conversations with a lot of these young men, and we're having these one-on-one type discussions, um, it gets emotional real quick. And
Yeah.
really, it's just they're looking for someone to listen and
Yeah.
not judge. Like, and I tell them, look, man, I don't need nothing from you. I don't want nothing from you. I'm here as a soundboard, and it sounds like you need that, and I'm here to help with that. And this is a conversation between me and you, and that is extremely valuable. I'm learning more and more and more every day, and I keep getting in these conversations where my vulnerability has allowed someone to feel comfortable enough with me to build some level of trust,
Yep.
and now I can earn more trust through
Yep.
those conversations.
Do those, last question, do those worlds, where you're coaching and teaching and consulting and the kind of mental health encouragement, do those worlds ever collide for you?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a fine line to walk, because you still are a business owner, you still have
Yep.
liability, You still have risk associated with it. You still have, legalities that are out there, and you have to be extremely cautious. But at the same
Yeah.
time, you have to be human. And it's a tough line to walk because you're constantly evaluating all these scenarios and trying to protect the person and yourself
Yeah.
in your situations. And I think that's probably where I see it clash the most is like, I just want to be a human
Yeah.
and talk to you and not be looking at this as you're my employee and I'm your boss,
Yeah.
or you're paying me and I'm
Yeah.
just listening for that reason. Like it's such a fine line.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's so good, man. So I don't want to go over time. So I appreciate the time that you spent with us today, and everybody who has been listening. Thanks for listening and spending time with Brother Luck and learning more about his heart and his calling in the world. Have a great day, everybody.